Hello, Magda. Welcome. Thank you
Right.
for being here with me tonight, and thank you for accepting my invitation. And I'm really happy that you are joining. Just because, and also because I just wanted to talk to you about the MIG program, which you successfully completed not so long time ago. So
Yes.
Magda Szumna is with me. Magda, at the very beginning. Yeah, it will be like an easygoing conversation, but at the very beginning, I really would like to ask you about your interest for intercultural communication, your interest for interculturalism. It's always a big question why people and how people get interested in the topic. Just share
Yeah.
about yourself.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today about it. Yeah. Well, the story of interculturality and I guess my interest in it goes back quite far, I would say. In a couple of years now, I have been working in a very intercultural, very international environment in the headquarters of a big international corporate based here in the Netherlands. But I am originally Polish. I have been born and raised in Poland, and that's where I've also lived, well, majority of my life. Having moved to the Netherlands 7 years ago and embarking on the global role in the global marketing role in the corporate was really a big shift in terms of my appreciation for interculturality and the topic itself. And I think at the beginning, to be honest, I haven't really appreciated the change to the actual impact it did have on me, and it does have on me in everyday work. Couple of years into my role, I had also an opportunity to take part into a completely external, outside of work project, where I was playing a role of a country expert, country specialist, as they called.
Wow.
For Heineken, actually, for a Dutch branch of Heineken, where the company has outsourced a lot of their business to an external company in Poland. And yeah, from that on, a lot of different challenges arose, as they were really not prepared for the cultural differences which they had to face. So that was a great experience for me. And since I have started, I guess, paying more attention, reading a little bit more about it, and exploring the topic, came across the book we talked about as well a number of times during the course. So the book called The Culture Map by Erin Meyer, who really, in a very, I would say, accessible way, explains what happens to you once you start working in an international environment. So that really catapulted my interest into the whole new level. On the private side as well, I can share as well that now reflecting on it a little bit more, and of course having completed the course, I also have a bigger appreciation of what my life privately also brings into that area, and that is having lived for well, 1/3 of my life with a person who comes from a different culture, how it also shifts your own sphere and how you find yourself within, in my case, a Polish environment. So super interesting, and yeah, a never-ending journey, I would say.
Interesting, but you said at the very beginning you actually were not so happy with this changes, like this shift into the international, multicultural, intercultural environment.
I would say, I mean, not happy is probably too strong to say. I would say I wouldn't be able to name why I felt the level of stress which I did in the beginning. So what I've experienced now, looking at it, you know, with the knowledge I have, has been a huge cultural clash, I would say, but a cultural clash on multiple levels. Not so much with moving to the Netherlands and, you know, having to learn about, you know, how people think, how people act, what are the rules. but really moving into a very multicultural work environment, which on a daily basis you interact with, people from such different backgrounds. Just to give you some statistics, I mean, 30% of the company are Dutch, and then 70% of people I work with are from pretty much anywhere else.
Yeah.
So every project meeting, every call, every interaction you have to really build a certain flexibility and understanding of where people come from with what they bring to the table.
It's amazing. I mean, I can recognize myself in you as well when I hear you talking. And also I can recognize a lot of clients that I have been working with in this last, let's say, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a really long time. And very, very often after, like our project, the clients, like some of the clients would say something like, yeah, now I have the flexibility to just watch it, right? To not get involved, not be caught up in the wire or something like that. So it's definitely helpful.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I think, we talked about it a couple of times throughout the course as well, how in today's business overall, and I think in corporate life, but even on a smaller scale, I mean, for a lot of entrepreneurs and companies who ultimately have to interact with people from different cultures. I mean, where you might not be living such an extreme circumstance, I guess, as the one I've just described, enough that you have suppliers or customers or parts of your team of people who come from a different cultural background than yourself, and it becomes very quickly a very stressful initially environment if you don't have the right tools and the right understanding of what is it that is actually happening. It can save so much time and so much energy and so much frustration, which then can otherwise go into actually driving the business.
Yeah.
That I find it astonishing that it hasn't really become a much more, how do I say, a must-have skill set. And I do see it evolving already. I do see it in companies like mine, where much more attention is being put into evolving those skills. And I mean, making sure that the leaders and people who are given those roles in international companies actually do bring them. But I find it's far too slow. It should really be part of a mainstream conversation about how equipped are you in today's business world to be successful.
That's interesting. So we just started really tough and really to the point. Magda, I just take you a little bit from that into, it's maybe a little bit too slow, because I know we talked about your project in your company and your willingness to develop intercultural communication or diversity in your working environment. So how did the Mastering Intercultural Communication program kind of help you or supported you in your role currently?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's the simplest answer. The reason why I chose to embark on this journey and take the course in May this year was partially because of what we've talked about, meaning the interest in the topic and the fact that I found myself increasingly drawn into learning more on, I would say, from the content perspective, meaning learning more of how different cultures interact, what different aspects you can look at when you talk about intercultural communication, but also what MIC offers, which is the practical, what can I do with that? Meaning what skills and what different tools can you use to make sure you effectively teach people about it. So of course the offer of MIC is quite broad, meaning you can apply it in becoming a coach or trainer yourself, or like in my case at this point being, I would say, an an enthusiast of intercultural communication topics, and the person who becomes a bit of a preaching head everywhere I go to make sure that people are aware of what their blind spots are. And I honestly do it from purely my own experience. As I mentioned, for me, it has been a huge I would say relief in terms of starting to understand that really everyone in those project teams is experiencing exactly the same level of frustration, maybe little misunderstandings, maybe not really being able to put a finger on what is it that has just happened. Why do I not feel that we are moving in the same direction, or what is this person talking about, and all those little things which just ultimately take the fun out of working together, and potentially can distract you from the objective. So to me, this is what Mick gave me. It gave me a language to be able to talk about it, and also a good understanding of how can you bring people on the journey of wanting to listen.
Thank you so much for this beautiful feedback. I really appreciate it, and I also see it right now, but I see it also every time we speak. When you speak about diversity or intercultural communication, you're really your face is really shining. It's like it's your it seems to be very like a passion, or like I really see it. I really feel it. So I'm blessed that you have been in the course. You have been an additional value, because in the last week we have been having people coming from diverse areas of expertise, basically.
Yeah.
We have been having an HR director, we have been having a corporate specialist, we have been having someone who just started out, and we have been also having someone who works in the humanitarian aid, I can say, right, around the world. So that was an incredible group. So we have been learning from each other. I really appreciate it. But now coming back to you, Magda. So what's the next steps actually? You have the tools, you round off the make, your certificate is ready to go. What's the next steps in the company? What can you do with such a certificate? What can you do with this intercultural knowledge? What's your plans?
So very quickly after completing the course, I mean, I have been quite vocal, of course, in the organization, as you can imagine, about importance of the topic. In the company I work in, similar to a lot of different big corporates, the topic of inclusive diversity is one of the key topics, I would say, key conversations. And as part of the Inclusive Diversity Championship, as it is framed in the company I work in, I will now start rolling out a series of trainings internally for the teams, for my peers, for colleagues, starting of course with my own team, which I know quite well, and I'm sure we can learn much more about each other and improve the ways of working, and I was an immediate term, but across the whole region. So that's what I will be doing as of this month, really, with a number of other colleagues who have been lucky enough to enroll in the trainer internal program. And yeah, outside of that, I mean, I pride myself into very, very happily becoming this intercultural bore who in every possible moment is bringing up the topic. And I'm saying, yeah, that's super interesting. It probably is a lot to do with the different cultures you are talking about, and pretty much everything and anything can be to an extent explained by the cultural backgrounds of people who are interacting.
Yeah, especially, like really, this is a special success story, I would say, because you really go after the intercultural communication topic, and after the mix straight into after the learning into the doing. And we talked before I hit the recording button. We talked also before about how you implement it and how you strive for this to happen in your company. So I will be wishing you a great success, really. Please keep us updated. Who knows what will happen? But it sounds very promising. And with your passion and with your knowledge, I'm sure it will be a greater success.
Thank you. No, I definitely commit to keep you in the loop, and I'm sure that the topic is these are, I would say, early stages. Let's see where it can take me. I also do believe that this is one of the key competencies. I mean, without being too grandiose about the importance of it, but I do honestly believe that when you think about the future profile of managers, of leaders in the corporate life especially, it will become, if it isn't already, one of the skills or part of the profile which will be preferred by the companies, because it does save so much of the energy which otherwise can be put into the business. It does really prevent companies from making the silliest of mistakes, I would say, but also just makes the working environment so much more enjoyable. If there is an appreciation of diversity, if actually different people can be heard and bring their ideas to the table, and those ideas are being listened to, it comes basically to the whole concept of inclusive diversity, which starts and ends with people knowing how to listen to someone who comes from a different background. So I think sooner or later it will stop being an additional soft skill training which you might need to pitch for additional budget for, but it will become a core of what's expected.
Yes, this is also my way of thinking about it. And funny enough, when I think about intercultural competence as such, we are way beyond. We are even actually not in the space of saying, okay, let's start learning intercultural competence, but it's just like really like a matrix taking it over. So without this competence, it seems like we are not able to move to make an additional step forward or upwards, or however we might call it, right? So it's really turning into something big. And funny enough, once you have it, once you kind of know where it's going and what it is about, it's difficult to imagine life without it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like how was I able to do that without, right? How was I able to function without the skills, without this kind of knowledge that is so crucial for?
No, it is a truly an eye-opening experience, and I think courses such as MIC, but also just an interest in a topic. I mean, once you start reading and learning, it explains so many different things in our today's life, right? I mean, we all are reading the news from different parts of the world. We are interacting with people from different backgrounds in pretty much every moment of our life, whether you go to the shop, right, so downstairs, or whether you are in a multicultural group of friends, colleagues, very often family members, right? It is part of modern life, and I think it is such a undervalued area of knowledge and of experience. Everyone, the moment you start talking about it, everyone has an experience in this area, right? It's one of those things which very rarely you meet someone who doesn't relate, or doesn't have an example of a situation in which I don't know, a silly misunderstanding took place, or doesn't have a frustration with, I don't know, a certain group of people who have different values. It is so close to everyone's experience that it shouldn't require us pitching.
I would love that. I would love that if everybody would understand the importance of this education, of this first steps in the intercultural communication on this road, that would be such a relief. We're still looking into pitching, so yeah, we still do that. So we are not there yet. My dream is not to do that soon. So let's see. Yeah. Magda. So talking about pitching, so whom do you recommend the MIC for? Who could be your perspective? Yeah. Looking at your perspective, the client that should participate.
I would say, well, I'm a marketer by training and by my, I would say, experience. So to tell you that pretty much anyone and everyone would go against everything I believe is the right answer. But I do believe it is pretty much for anyone who in their life interacts in any way with people from different backgrounds. And I mean, they can be national cultures, as we tend to default to, but also regional cultures, right? I mean, it is true that the national cultures tend to have the biggest longevity, and I guess over time change the least, or take the longest to change, shall we say. So pretty much anyone, and I mean from the corporate world, if you want to keep it to the environment I had the most experience with, both the managers and team members of such teams could benefit from trainings like MIC. But anyone in a leadership position, and I mean whether it's a team leader or a manager or director position, it's like it should be like a basic a basic entry level of awareness. MIC is a great opportunity to also learn how to practically apply this knowledge and how to practically educate others about what this knowledge gives you. The webinar itself, which is one of the last elements you as a MIC alumni have to deliver, is a great opportunity to test yourself in the topic as well. I mean, in my professional life, deliver hundreds of presentations a month, just because of course, the nature of my job. But having an opportunity to work on a topic like that, talk to an open audience, completely, I would say, put yourself out there, was a fantastic experience. So yeah, the shortest, I guess, summary of my long answer is anyone who is interacting in intercultural environment, but also who is open enough to self-reflect, because I think that's also a huge message from the MIC course, is that it all starts with self-reflection and an awareness of where your blind spots are.
Fantastic, Magda. I couldn't put it better in words. You just took my job, actually. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. Indeed, the self-awareness, I think it's the most important part, also very close to my heart, because at the end of the day, if we do not look at ourselves, we cannot look clearly at the other, right? So we cannot really dive deep. So in that sense, thank you so much for this beautiful words and for meeting me here today. Just, Magda, to make sure that whoever wants to catch up with you and maybe connect with you, where do we find you? Where are you findable in that sense?
Probably the easiest is LinkedIn. So of course, very, very open to connect to anyone who would like to either learn more about the experience of MIC, or the passion for the topic itself. Please feel free to connect on LinkedIn and send me a message. Yeah, we can take it from there in whatever form or shape that connection would benefit anyone.
Thank you so much. Magda, that was interesting. It was really like a beautiful experience talking with you. So thank you so much for sharing yourself, sharing your experiences. I will be wishing you, yeah, the whole success story, the whole length of it, right? Just keep on going and keep on smiling the way you do when you talk about intercultural communication. It's just like so much of a heart opening. It's amazing. So thank you so much. And
thank you so
see you
much.
very soon, I hope.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.